share a true story that he mentions in one of his books that is especially related to girls in the study of Torah. There was once a wealthy Torah scholar in Baghdad who had a very gifted daughter. In those days, there were no schools for girls, so they were usually educated at home, or not at all. When his daughter reached her early teens, this rabbi decided it was a good idea to hire a tutor to teach her Tanakh with commentaries. He signed a contract with the tutor for 2 years, and even paid him in advance. The young girl turned out to be an extremely fast learner, and she mastered the entire Tanakh in just the first 7 months. Since she had 17 months left to go, she wanted to move on to Mishnah and Gemara, advanced subjects that were not usually taught to girls back then. The tutor felt that since he had already been paid for 2 whole years, he had no choice but to teach her whatever she wanted to learn. Towards the end of the 2-year period, the rabbi made a surprise visit to see how his daughter's education was going. He was shocked to find out that the tutor had been teaching her Mishnah and Gemara at a very high level. The tutor explained that since he had already been paid for 2 full years of work, he didn't feel that he could just stop in the middle. The rabbi told him not to worry. He could keep the money, but he couldn't teach the girl anymore. She needed to focus on finding a husband now instead. The rabbi's daughter was very disappointed. She had really enjoyed the challenge of learning Mishnah and Gemara. She didn't want to give up on her dream of mastering these fascinating subjects, so she came up with a plan. Every day, she knew that her father studied Tammuz with his students and learning partners in the Bnei Mitzvah. She would simply sit in a nearby room with the door open and quietly listen to whatever it was they were learning. She did this for years, day after day, slowly and secretly educating herself. One day, a random visitor knocked at the rabbi's door asking for charity. The rabbi asked the man's name. He answered, Chaim ben Shalom. Then the rabbi asked where the man was from. He said, from the same city as you are from. The rabbi then asked if certain friends and relatives who lived there were still alive, and the man answered, after the pomegranate. Hearing such strange responses, the rabbi assumed that the man might be a little off. He told his daughter that there were 2 coins in his wallet, 1 gold and 1 silver, and that she should give the silver coin to the beggar. Instead, she gave the poor man the gold coin. When her father found out, he was very angry at her. The daughter said, Father, that man was a great Talmid Chacham. He deserved the gold coin, not the silver one. The rabbi asked, how do you know this? The daughter said, think about what he said. He said his name was Chaim ben Shalom. Have you ever heard of someone with a name like that before? He was just being humble. Instead of saying his name was Chacham Chaim, meaning Rabbi Chaim, he only said Chaim since the letters of Chacham and Chaim both add up to 68. When he said he was from the same city as you, he didn't mean that literally. He meant he was from the same background as you are. He was raised and taught by great Torah scholars as well. Last but not least, when he said after the pomegranates, you must have thought he was crazy. But actually, he was referring to a pasuk in Shira Shirim. After the word Harimonim, the pomegranates, it says Lo Yadati, I don't know. What he meant was, he has no idea how your family is doing back home, because he isn't actually from the same town as you are. The rabbi was amazed at the wisdom of his daughter. He ran up to the stranger, brought him back, and discovered that everything she had said was exactly right. The rabbi turned to his daughter in surprise and asked, how did you know all of this? She explained how for all these years, she had been secretly listening to his classes and had learned the entire Tanakh, Talmud, and commentaries. From this knowledge, she was able to understand the hints of the stranger. The rabbi nodded his head, but had one more question. If you learned all this from listening to me, how come you understood the man, but I didn't? I should have been able to understand him too. The daughter answered, because the rabbis teach us that those who study modestly and in secret are given an even greater gift of Torah knowledge than those who study in front of others. Since I had nobody to impress, and I only wanted to learn Torah for its own sake, Hashem blessed me with even more understanding than my own teachers. Why we choose to do things is even more important than what we choose to do. The young girl in the story was not looking to be famous or popular. In fact, we don't even know what her name was. But what we do know is that her love of Hashem inspired her to do everything she possibly could in order to study His wisdom and follow His ways. As a Bat Mitzvah, I hope I will be inspired by the same example of this amazing woman and continue to learn Torah and keep the mitzvah only for the right reasons always.